Hi everyone. Something I've learned during retirement is that wealth is definitely so much bigger than money. Of course, we all need security during our retirement, but how we define wealth will truly shape how meaningful and how beautiful our retired life is. And this is what I wish to talk about in this video. Hi, my name is Reina, and this is Small Retired Life. On my channel, we talk about all things retirements, the ups and the downs, and living our life in our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. If you're new, welcome here. The great Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." And this is kind of in a nutshell what my video is about. I want to talk about and explore how to create a more abundant mindset in our retirement. Sure, all of the practical things like budgeting and living within one's means and having enough savings and being healthy and eating healthy and all of those things are really important. I guess what I want to explore is some of the more esoteric, some of the quieter things that truly contribute to abundance and to joy during our retirement years. And this is where I want to focus more today. Before I begin to kind of get into the meat of this video, I should tell you where the genesis of a lot of what I'm talking about came from. When I first moved into my current home, which was back in June 1st, end of May 2021, I had just become single that January after being in a relationship for 16 years. When my partner and I sold off our home, I didn't really want to take a lot with me. I had this urge to just really kind of start from scratch as much as possible. Before I moved into this home, I had to renovate here, so I didn't kind of get to move in. I purchased the home in February, but I didn't move in till the end of May. So I had time to just purge a lot of things. And when I moved into this home, I had hardly any furniture. I had my bed and I had my dining room set, and that was it. I shed a lot of my clothing. I went through a lot of books and a lot of kitchen items and all of that type of thing, and came here kind of with the bare minimum. And part of the reason for that was because I really felt I needed to establish some new level of footing. I wanted to know what made me happy, what I really needed, and what was going to be different in my life now that I was solo and I was a retired solo. And so I wanted to give myself a lot of space to kind of ruminate on all of these things. And during that time, I realized that it wasn't my things and having a ton of money and all of these kind of more consumer type practical day-to-day things that really gave me any measurement of joy. It was more some of these softer, more esoteric and quieter things that are sometimes really hard to pinpoint, and that takes some self-exploration, a little bit of navel-gazing, I guess, to really establish. And it took me quite a while, and so I thought I would share some of that journey, some of that process, and some of those things. I would say that the starting point is redefining wealth beyond money. I think we've been conditioned to believe that wealth is about things. Most of us have anyways. Wealth was people who could afford to buy things that we couldn't afford. Wealth was driving a beautiful car, having a beautiful home, being able to purchase beautiful clothes. For some people, it's designer items. There's a lot of materialism associated with wealth, but truly, wealth is a mindset, because you could have all the most beautiful things you want, and you could have more things than anyone else and still feel pretty empty. Marcus Aurelius, another great Stoic philosopher, had a quote that I read once, and it said something like, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself or within your own thinking. Now, this isn't word for word, but basically that was the gist of the quote. And here he talks about the fact that it's not the things, it's not material objects that really give you a lot of happiness, but it is your mindset and it is how you think and how positive your outlook is. I believe a great way to begin shifting your mindset is to actually ask yourself the question, what is it that wealth means to me? And what is it that makes me really happy right now? And what makes me feel free and joyful? Is it my car? Is it my collection of shoes? Is it the ability to have freedom to get up whenever you want? And every Monday is a weekend. Every Monday you get to get up at your own time and have a cup of coffee. Is that more important than having a lot of money? Oftentimes, the reason that I believe those questions are important is that there is a choice between having more money and being able to buy things, or retiring a little bit sooner and maybe not being able to purchase as many things, but having more freedom. So that's always the kind of the push and pull of retirement for a lot of people. And for me personally, it's more important that I have freedom than having a lot of things. So my mindset regarding wealth is that freedom and the ability to be my own boss, do my own thing, structure my own day, get up whenever I want to, is so much more meaningful, and therefore I feel wealthier than if I had a ton of money and I was able to just go and buy anything. Of course, practical money habits do contribute to a wealthy mindset. Financial clarity is definitely not to be underrated. What I would suggest is keep your spending simple. Have a budget that you can live within. Don't buy a lot of stuff, because honestly, we buy something and we love it for about a day or two, and then it starts to occupy space in our homes and it just becomes another thing we own. At least that's what I find with myself, and I've heard many, many other people say the same thing. When you have simple spending habits in place, you have a simple budget in place, and you're covering all of the practical needs that are true needs and that are important to just have a healthy lifestyle, then stop focusing on your budgets and on money and on buying stuff, and start focusing on your rhythms instead. Give yourself rituals of abundance. That could mean just having what I call a self-care Sunday, getting up in the morning, having a really nice cup of tea and a nice light breakfast, and maybe having a brisk walk, especially if you can do it with a friend. I do that every Sunday morning. I go out walking in nature with a friend of mine, and we do about a 5.5K loop, and it's wonderful. And then coming home and maybe doing a great little face mask and having a cup of tea or having something yummy. Those kind of rituals are so enriching. I always feel super rich when I do something decadent for myself. And when I say decadent, it doesn't mean that I'm spending a lot of money. It just means that I'm being kind to myself. Every now and then, I'll go and buy some treats. Now, for me, that's usually a little piece of lemon tart. I love anything that's lemony and kind of zingy. Some people, it could mean going to a fancy chocolate shop and having a couple of pieces of really decadent chocolate. You don't need to buy out the store. You just need a piece or two to give you that feeling of wealth. Rituals that just make you feel decadent and that feel good will make you feel wealthier, at least in your mind. Embrace the joy of enough. Celebrate what you have. Use the things that you already have. Take out all of the fancy things. Every single thing that's too good to use, take it out right now and use it every single day. None of those things are valuable sitting in the closet. Take joy out of them, use them, put on a dress during the day if it makes you feel good, even if you have nowhere to go. My motto is that I already have so many great things, and I want to be able to really cherish those things and to use them and to get joy out of them. And when I do that, I feel like life is so abundant. I feel like I have so much, and that gives me or allows me to cultivate a wealthy mindset. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, wrote, "Wealth does not consist of having a lot of possessions, but it consists of having few wants." And I think that really exemplifies to me a wealthy mindset, in that I don't need a lot of things to make me happy. I just need my little rituals and some very simple things like a great cup of coffee or a really nice treat or a nice time to put a great face mask on or something like that. Those are the things that make me happy. To me, the esoteric side of wealth is gratitude and mindset. Clearly, wealth isn't just financial, it's also spiritual and it's emotional. And gratitude to me forms the true part of being able to adopt an abundant mindset. When I am journaling, I don't really have like a formal journaling process. A lot of people have asked me if I have specific prompts or if there's anything special that I do, and I don't. Usually for me, journaling is a bit of a mind dump. I just get a notebook, or I usually do it in my iPad in a notebook in GoodNotes, and I just kind of write whatever comes to my mind. But that being said, one of the things I do on a regular basis, and this is something I've been doing probably for a couple of years now, and I believe it's made a difference, is that I have to write down 3 things that I'm really grateful for. Every single day, what are 3 things that I'm really grateful for that are in my life? And typically, when I look back over the last few years, none of that is things per se. I mean, as close as I come to material things is like my home and, having a car when it's like minus 25 outside or something. But usually it's family and feeling happy and having a beautiful river close by to walk on the pathways and being able to drink a great cup of coffee every morning without going to work. Those are the kinds of things that I'm happy and grateful for. It's always really, they all relate back to freedom, the ability to be free. And that seems to be an overriding thing for me. And it is, freedom really makes me feel wealthy. The more we recognize the true wealth that's already around us, the less we feel that we need to have more. The more that we are happy with our circumstances right now in this moment, and the less time we spend fretting about the future. And I believe that kind of peace is what brings about also the wealthy mindset aspect of it. I also believe that when we're in a place of gratitude, we actually make better choices. And I think that's because when we're in a state of gratitude, when we are grateful for the things that we have, we are in a more positive and a wealthier mindset. And therefore, our choices are according to that mindset. If we already feel wealthy, and if we already feel like we have enough, then we don't need to have more. Time is probably the most wealthiest thing that we have in retirement. And it's really hard not to waste it. And it's also very hard to manage it carefully. But the fact that we have freedom and we can do whatever we want throughout the day is something that I believe contributes in the greatest way towards a wealthy mindset. For me personally, when I wake up in the morning on a Monday, I feel absolutely rich because I don't have to go to work. I don't have to hit the morning traffic. I can just leisurely get up and enjoy reading something, enjoy my cup of coffee, and have peace and not feel stressed out about starting another week, having to do something that someone else wants me to do and that I'm particularly not enthusiastic about. I firmly believe that freedom and the ability to do what we want in retirement is a really beneficial thing to focus on as a point of gratitude, because time definitely is not available to everyone. And when you have time available, that to me is wealth. It is irreplaceable. To be able to do what you want to do is something that most people do not have the luxury of doing. And if you have that privilege and if you have that ability to guide your own day and guide your own time, then I think you can easily get into a mindset where you feel wealthy because of your freedom. Seneca wrote an essay on the shortness of life. And in that essay, he talks about the fact that it's not that we have a short amount of life, but that we have a tendency to waste it. And I think that is referencing the fact that freedom and the moments that we have are precious and we should treat them as such. I believe when we put a little bit of focus on our freedom and our free time, and we use it to create joy for ourselves and for others, we will feel a lot wealthier. Often our environment shapes how wealthy we feel. And I'm not talking about living in a mansion or living in some huge house amongst all expensive things. But I believe that when we have a clean home and our home is free of excess, then we actually feel wealthier because the things that we have are things that give us joy, and they are things that we use, and they are things that we appreciate. I'm not telling you to go and give up everything you own or to declutter every single thing in your life. What I'm saying is that when we have too much and when there's too many things around us, there is a tendency to feel overwhelmed. There's also a little bit of stress that comes with having a lot of stuff, because most of us understand that too many things around us collecting dust and being wasted is not necessarily the best thing. And so it preys on our mind and on our peace and just our well-being. Keeping your space clean and keeping it free of excess clutter, things that are just piling up like old bills and papers and mail that hasn't been sorted through, those are things that take away our ability to be grateful and to feel that we are indeed very blessed, and that allow us to feel that wealthy mindset, which I believe, again, comes from that sense of gratitude and being happy with the things that you have. The one piece of advice that I feel very good about giving someone is just to stop shopping for a lot of stuff and really enjoy the things you have. I talk about this all the time. I believe that beauty doesn't require money. I believe that beauty requires attention. When the things around you are beautiful to you and are enjoyed on a regular basis and are in good repair, then you will feel a certain sense of peace. I know I certainly do. I think a lot of people feel really good when their house is clean. I often hear people say, "Oh, I feel so amazing because my house is clean." It creates a sense of well-being and peace and makes you love your home and love the things that you have. As a final point, I believe that creativity creates a wealthy mindset. When we create things that make us feel proud of what we've done and what we've achieved, I believe, feel like we lack less. When I finish knitting a sweater, I feel immeasurably happy with the outcome usually, and I feel like I have plenty because now I have this new sweater, but I created it with my own hands, and so it's very special. I think people, when they create relationships with other people, are also adding a wealthy mindset, because if you're the type of person who enjoys being around a lot of people and you get joy out of social interactions, when you create groups of friends or your own little tribe of people that you like to relate to, you will feel happier and you will feel wealthier again, because you won't have that feeling of lacking something important. So here's the thing. Wealth in retirement is not about money as the main thing. It's more about time and relationships and finding abundance in the things that surround you already by using them and enjoying them and doing things that bring you joy. When we're joyful and when we're happy and when we're grateful for the things that we have, I believe we feel wealthier and we feel like we're not lacking and our life feels full. So this is it for this week. Let me know if you agree with these things or if you have anything else to add that I didn't mention. And you can leave all the comments in the comment section below the video. And otherwise, I will see you all next week at our regular time. Bye.